All right, welcome week 10, spread and bread and spread, whatever it may be. Who knows anymore?
I don't think either of us know.
No. Uh we'll have another quick one just cuz I don't know, whatever. Might be bedtime for you early. Uh for all
It
those
might be.
for all the non-listeners out there, Kashuta has been sick and is sick. So,
Yeah, recovering.
yeah. So last week I went 8-3-2 and you went 7-4-2.
Hmm.
So we both pushed the Atlanta Chargers game and we both pushed the Rams Buccaneers game.
I feel like we're getting better though.
I was just going to say that I feel like we're getting better, although I have a feeling it's going to end this week for me.
Right. By saying that, I'm definitely going to have my own 16 weekend.
Yeah.
But it's starting to kind of like you're starting to catch on to like trends and the way they set some of these lines, and you feel like where you're getting like baited into certain situations. So probably more of the same with these this week. I
Yeah.
haven't honestly taken a real close look, but
So there was like a bunch of lines in it, and I'm like, yeah, that seems good. That seems about right. And I'm like, fuck. There's only a few lines that I'm like, this should be way more. This should be a little bit more.
hmm, yeah,
So, all right.
yeah, I see
Uh,
one.
all right. Well, we'll talk about it. Well, let's get started. Thursday night, tomorrow night. Atlanta is favored by 2.5 on the road at Carolina. Carolina, Mayfield's back quarterback. And I don't know, is he starting tomorrow night? Do we know? Have they said?
I honestly don't know. Does it matter? He's really bad, but
He is. He is. Yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't change my pick regardless. I've liked Atlanta all year against the spread. I'm taking Atlanta.
yeah, and this breaks some rules because it's a short week, divisional game, home dog. But yeah, I'm still taking Atlanta too. I just there's no reason to believe in anything Carolina has going on. Atlanta's shown at least some flashes, so taking Atlanta
Yeah.
too.
And that was, you said it too, like it goes against my rules too. I'm like, well, it's Thursday. Like normally you take the points on a Thursday, but I just can't
Yeah,
stand. That's what I think. I'm like, well, shit, if Mayfield's quarterbacking, I'm taking Atlanta for sure. So,
yeah, and the point total on this one is interesting with the 42. Obviously that's a fairly low point total. That even seems to me high for this game. I mean, we can see this being 17-13 final score, right? I
yeah,
mean,
but couldn't you also see it, like, couldn't you also see it being 34-30?
no,
You
Carolina
couldn't?
can't score 30 points. Carolina's going to score 30 points? No.
Yeah, they got to give the ball to Foreman. So I get fantasy points.
Yeah, right, right.
My
You paid
team
up
is a
for him, so
disaster.
oh
My
my
team is a
gosh,
fucking disaster.
yeah, just skip that
Speaking of
topic.
his, speaking of, is Josh Allen hurt? Because then I'm really done if he is.
Is he?
I thought he was questionable, and they were going to do like. Brian could shoot a mute button. You said you had a mute button
Yeah,
for a
sorry,
reason.
I got a mute button.
I really don't care. I'm not. I don't think anyone really cares, anyways. I'm checking right now to see if. I thought they were looking at like ligaments or something like that.
Hmm.
He is questionable. It says Allen elbow will not practice Wednesday. Day to day. Yeah, he'll play.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Next game. This was the one line. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Seattle. It's not even. The thing is, it's not even at Tampa Bay. This is a Germany game. This is in Germany.
This is the Germany game. Yep.
So
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is favored by 3, and I have no fucking clue why. And I'm taking Seattle for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I really don't know either. Again, I think that whoever's setting these lines still continues to believe in Tampa. That defense played better against the Rams if the Rams are a bad team. For some reason, I think because just to kind of separate our picks out a little bit, I think it's a neutral site game. I think I'm going to pick Tampa here.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna go kind of against what my gut is telling me, which is to pick Seattle because Seattle's played well and Tampa has not. I don't know. For some reason, I had like a kind of last minute change of heart there. I'm going to pick Tampa.
Alrighty. Minnesota on the road at Buffalo. Buffalo's favored by 3.5. I think this is finally the game that Minnesota just gets throttled, right?
Yeah, I without question, and I would even say the 3.5 isn't enough, even if God, I don't even know who Buffalo's backup is. I don't even care. I still think Buffalo would win by more than 3.5, even without Allen playing.
I think it's Case Keenum.
Yeah, fine. Case Keenum, perfect.
Let me just double check. I think I just read it. Yep, Case Keenum.
Former Vikings quarterback.
There you go. Yeah, this line's way too low to me. I mean, and maybe it was. I mean, I just did the lines today, so I can see that if Allen was out, but that's kind of
there's no way in the world I believe Minnesota's going to Buffalo and winning. There's just no way.
No. All right, Detroit at Chicago. Chicago's favored by 3. Chicago's getting a little frisky. Detroit got a big win over the juggernaut of Green Bay last week, which we'll talk in a bit.
Can't wait.
I'm gonna say that this is a Detroit's got their shit together all of a sudden. They're like, we just beat Green Bay, and they're confident, and they're gonna go to Chicago, and I'm gonna take the points. And I'm taking Detroit.
You love the Lions.
I do. I don't know, but they can score. I hate Chicago. Chicago's so fucking boring. And I know people are starting to like Justin Fields more, but
and Chicago's starting to turn it around, which I mean, they were so awful in the beginning. There's nowhere to go but to be at least a little bit better. So I'm going to take Chicago here. So I think maybe there's a little bit of a trend. Detroit, the weather is going to turn a little colder this weekend. Maybe that gives Chicago an advantage. I'll take the Bears.
All right. This was a line I thought was a little bit too low. Denver is on the road at Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, this one's tough because all of a sudden Tennessee is playing better.
They lost, but they were winning the whole game against Kansas City. So
yeah, I mean, and Willis really was impressive, and Tennessee, such a slow start, but clearly a talented team. I mean, at this point, Denver has shown nothing, and Denver was on a bye last week, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I want to say they were on a bye last week. They've shown nothing. Tennessee has shown, at least the ability to be able to stay in games and against good teams and win some games. So I'm going to take Tennessee.
Yeah, I got Tennessee too. I think Tennessee is going to win by more than just 3. Like, I think they could win this by 7-10, whatever.
Yeah.
But even if I hear people say, "Well, it's going to be low scoring, it's going to 13-10." Well, if it's 13-10, they cover the spread. Like if this spread was 3 or 3.5, maybe I'd look at it a little bit differently. But
yeah,
I don't know. Denver, Denver just does not impress me one bit.
No, they're not a good team. So
next game, Jacksonville is at Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 9.5. I don't know what to do with Jacksonville anymore. I mean, they look pretty shitty for the most part, but they should have lost to Vegas, and Vegas just decided to spoon feed Adams the ball all half, and then just said, fuck it, we won't even throw him the ball anymore. We won't even do anything anymore.
1 catch for 0 yards in the second half. Did I see that?
That sounds about right. He had 146 and 2 touchdowns in the first half, didn't he?
Yep.
100. Yeah, I mean,
I want to say 10 catches.
What are you doing? How does that change? Like, I don't think Jacksonville all of a sudden was like, all right, we're going to double. Maybe they did double Adams, but like, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly made an adjustment, and I don't know. You want to find a way to get that guy the ball because clearly it works when you get that guy the ball. Same thing when he was in Green Bay. When you consistently get that guy the ball, you win. When you don't, you lose. I don't know. The Raiders are, yeah, that's I guess a subject that's going to be coming up or unless they're in a bye. No, they got a game coming up. We can talk about them, but yeah. So yeah, Jacksonville's very difficult to read. Kansas City obviously playing really well. They're at home. It is a big number. And I kind of fed into it last week with Kansas City. I think they were 14-point favorites. They got up big though. They got up 9-0, and then Tennessee really kind of fought back and made it a close game. I think this is a game that Kansas City wins in a blowout. I'm going to take Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree. 9.5 is not enough. It's not double digits. I mean, I don't know how this is only 9.5.
Yeah,
that seems. And last week they're at home against Tennessee, who was the 2 seed, and they're 12.5-point favorites. And now this week they're 9.5-point favorites against a worse team. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
That was the same thing like we talked last week when Buffalo was favored by more against the Jets than they were against Green Bay. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And obviously you saw what happened there. Buffalo lost to the Jets. I didn't think that was going to happen. But this makes no sense. It's easily Kansas City easy.
I don't know how they're going to stay in this game. They've got nothing offensively.
Yeah. All right, Cleveland at Miami. Miami is favored by 3.5. That seems way too low. Cleveland. I mean, I know Cleveland beat Cincinnati, but whatever. Miami's offense looks great. Tyreek Hill looks on another level. I'm taking Miami.
You hate the Browns.
I don't. I've picked the Browns a decent amount this year, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm trying to pick up on.
I picked them against Cincinnati.
You love the Lions. Hate the Browns. Okay. I'm gonna take the Dolphins too. Especially at home. It's gonna be interesting weather-wise with another hurricane coming through. Because apparently it's still hurricane season. It's freaking November.
Crazy.
Why are we having hurricanes? But
climate change, global warming doesn't exist. It is a complete fallacy.
Hey, what are you talking about? It's 65 here,
and 70. It's going to be 70 tomorrow and 35 on Friday. That's what's happening That's what's happening in northern Wisconsin. 70 on November 10th, and on November 11th it's going to be 35. Anyone who doesn't fucking believe in climate change or global warming is a fucking moron. There's no way.
Right. And it is weird. It is so strange and way too warm, uncomfortably warm for this time of year. Makes no sense. So
all right. Yeah, you got Miami, I got Miami. All right, Houston is at the Giants. Giants are favored by 5. This was one line that I thought actually kind of made sense just because the Giants always tend to play close games.
Yeah.
And Houston, I mean, as they only have one win, but I mean, I feel like they're kind of just hanging around.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Giants just because I think they're just clearly a better team and they're at home. So
yeah, and I think Houston. I picked them last week against Philly and got that one on the Thursday night. I don't see them hanging in this one. I don't think the Giants can put up a ton of points, and it's your total's only like 40.5, so it's not going to be a high scoring game. So 5 is kind of a lot in a point total like that, but I'll still take the Giants.
All right, New Orleans favored by 1.5 on the road at Pittsburgh. I don't care how bad Pittsburgh is. The fact that New Orleans is getting points on the road, no, thank you. I'm taking Pittsburgh in the points.
Man, it's such a weird. Isn't that just the weirdest look to that game? New Orleans at Pittsburgh, 1.5.
Yep.
It's kind of like they didn't know what to do with it, and didn't want to go too far in one direction. Just to keep us separated from each other, I'm gonna take New Orleans, but I have no reason to believe in either of these teams. They both suck. So,
agreed. All right, here we go. We go through the Vegas game right here. The Colts are on the road at. Does Vegas have 2 wins, right?
Yeah, 2.
And they're favored by 6. And I know the Colts suck.
Yeah,
but they're favored by 6. This line is like, I triple checked. I'm like, are we sure this isn't Indy by 6? And I mean, that would be insane too. But like,
right.
I don't know how this is 6, which tells you that I'm taking the Colts, obviously. But
yeah, and I'll take the Colts here too. That seems like an easy one because again, you're talking about 2 teams playing poorly. It's not like the Raiders are going to have any kind of a home field advantage. It's indoors. It's almost a neutral game. Both teams playing terribly. I'll take the 6 and go with the Colts. That seems easy.
Yeah. Another line that was just kind of weird to me, although these teams are just Jesus. Arizona on the road at the Rams. Rams are favored by 1.5.
Again, it's like they're just guessing here. They're just like, what's a really weird number to make everybody super confused? Let's go with 1.5. I don't have a reason to believe in either team. The Rams against the Buccaneers, that was pathetic at the end of that game. Did you watch that?
I did not know.
Oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like I think all they needed to do is just get a first down, and they couldn't do it, punted it away, and then literally gave up the game-winning touchdown in like 5 plays. Brady went 60 yards in like 5 plays.
Okay.
And I actually watched a breakdown of the Rams defense afterward, and they were on the outside. Their corners were playing like 15 yards off. And all Brady did was throw it like 2 outs to Scotty Miller that picked up like 30 yards total. Like they just played off the entire time. Jalen Ramsey, I'm telling you, is just nothing but talk. That guy's not any good. And he against the Buccaneers, he looked terrible. But anyway, Cardinals are awful. There's no reason to pick either of these teams. I'm just going to take the Rams just because they're home and they should be the better team.
Okay, and I'm taking the Cardinals because I'm getting points, and that's it.
That makes total sense.
Divisional game, give me the points.
All right.
Chargers I still cannot make. Okay, so the Chargers, these are two teams I can't figure out. I feel like, so it's the Chargers at the 49ers. I feel like the 49ers get so much more respect and I don't know what backing than they've ever fucking proven all year. I don't know. And I get, they got McCaffrey now, so it changes the team a little bit and everything. But I looked at this, I'm like, God, 7 fucking points.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It really is. And I don't know. I mean, again, McCaffrey changes their offense. They can score a little bit better, but I don't think Jimmy G's any good. I just don't.
Certainly not.
Unless
he's playing the Packers.
Yeah, right. So I'm taking the points in this because I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in the 49ers.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I these are two very inconsistent teams. This game could go a lot of different directions. So in those kind of scenarios, yeah, you take the team that's getting 7 points. It seems crazy. Yeah, I'll take the Chargers too.
All right. So that's the Sunday night game because we got obviously the Green Bay game last.
Yep.
So Monday night game is Washington at Philly. Biggest number on the board. Philly is favored by 11.
Yeah, and Philly, I questioned. They're a solid team, and they've really kind of distanced themselves from the rest of the NFC. In my opinion, it's a really tough division that they play in. So I think their record is going to eventually level out a little bit. But I mean, Washington is horrendous. They should have beaten the Vikings.
Yeah.
But Washington hasn't been consistent all year. And I think Philly's going to come out and easily win this game. So yeah, I'll take the Eagles.
I'm taking Washington. I actually don't think Washington's horrendous. I think their defense is solid. Heineke's not bad. He's not.
No,
he's playing better than Rodgers.
Right. I'm playing better than Rodgers.
That's true. Yeah. And I think that, if you look at Washington's games, I think for the most part they keep all their games close.
They do.
Divisional game. I know they're on the road, but I think they're gonna, whether it's a backdoor cover or not, I'll take the 11 points.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Last game of the game. The Mark. You know what? Do you listen to Simmons podcast or no?
No.
So him and cousin Sal do a guess the lines every week, where they just go through the games and they don't look at the lines and they guess them and then they whatever. So, and he does every he does like a watchable or I can't, what the hell's this called? His premiere, what's his game of the week, whatever. I don't know what it's called. And he does like a poop feck the game where there's like shitty games, whatever. I think he had this as his like marquee game of the week, which I mean, normally it would be, right? It's Dallas at Green Bay.
It should be.
Minnesota Buffalo, you'd think would be.
Yeah.
And maybe he had that. It was one of the watchable, whatever. It was one of the top games.
Yeah.
So Dallas is favored by 4.5. Rightfully so. This was a line that I was like, this one's spot on. This finally They figured out the fucking Packers. Why would you ever give them, why would you ever have them favored in the game?
Yeah.
McCarthy coming back to town. God, fuck that guy.
Yeah. For sure.
I mean, I told you, I know I've said it the last time, how many weeks, I'm not ever going to take the Packers again. I don't care what. They've looked as bad as any team has looked all year.
I mean, you have to look at the game on Sunday against Detroit and say, those are probably the two worst teams in the NFL right now playing each other. And they lost.
They scored 9 points against the worst defense.
Yeah.
9 fucking points.
Yeah. And Detroit tried to give them the game.
Yeah.
Detroit when Detroit got the ball back and Detroit had 2nd and 1 and basically needed to get 1 yard to win the game and couldn't do it. That's what the team they fucking lost to. A team that couldn't get 1 yard when it was 2nd and 1. That's who they lost to. And so Detroit tried to give them the game and they still couldn't do it. It's impossible to believe how far they've fallen. They are so unbelievably bad. They're so undisciplined. They play so stupidly. The number of personal foul, like 15-yard penalties, the one on Barnes where he went helmet to helmet with the guy for absolutely no reason. and it was a huge 15-yard penalty. They had the one on Alexander. He got a
Was that?
15-yard penalty.
And he was the one that was like pumping up the
Yeah,
crowd
like
after he,
yeah,
shut the
pumping up the
fuck
crowd
up. What are you doing?
again. But this is
Like,
to
Jesus.
me, this is it's part of the same problem. I think people see it as like, well, the offense not being able to score points and guys acting like assholes. That's two totally different things. Is it? It's part of a larger picture of some clear breakdowns that are going on, and it's where it comes back to, the consistent thing is, well, who's in charge of the offense? LaFleur. Well, who's in charge of making sure guys don't act like assholes? Also LaFleur.
Yeah.
So, there's a major loss of control going on. And, I mentioned this on text a couple days ago. When you look at their schedule, I don't know, outside of maybe Chicago or maybe Detroit at Green Bay.
They were not beating Chicago right now. Not a chance.
I'm saying even them being favored in a game.
Oh, they'll be favored against Detroit probably at home.
Yeah.
But
they may not be favored in a game the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
The way things are going.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone having the actual ability to beat a team. If they can't win at Detroit in a 15-9 game, in a game where Detroit clearly is so unbelievably bad, and you can't beat that team. You can't win at Washington in a game that was, in my opinion, almost handed to you. And the list just goes on and on. They are as bad right now as they've been in a really, really long time, and there is no reason to pick them in any game. I'm taking Dallas, and I don't see how Green Bay even stays in this game.
I think to myself, if you score 9 points against Detroit's defense, is Dallas's defense? They're in the top 5. They got to be, right.
They're up there. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Tons of talent.
I'm just going to check this. I'm curious at this point now. How the hell is that going to go? You can't score against the worst defense in the league, but they're going to get throttled, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this being like a 16-0 loss.
All right, so where the hell? Sometimes these fucking defensive stats. I'm on NFL.com. What is this sorted by? Attempts? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at defensive rankings at all.
Ooh, it's against the pass. The Packers are 4th against the pass.
Yeah, because every team runs the hell out of the ball right up the freaking gut against them, and doesn't even have to worry about passing.
Yeah, Cowboys are 3rd against the rush. 49ers are 1st. Cowboys are bottom. Not bottom, middle of the bottom.
Certainly a talented defense. For sure.
I just want to check score. God, that's why the 49ers are fucking good, is because they're in the top of their defense is apparently so good.
Well, what is the Cowboys defense going to be ranked after Sunday? Probably higher.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, I cannot see any scenario where this game is where the Packers can win this. And it's so funny because, and I think you mentioned it a couple of times. Everyone was mentioning, like, the Detroit game, this is their get right game. This is their get right game. They're going to get right. And it's like, wasn't that supposed to be the Jet game and the Washington game? Like, they just aren't good. I don't know. So are we both taking Dallas, by the way, or no?
Yeah.
Okay. What needs to change? Because they're in a really weird spot. Because you can't bench Rodgers, can you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think your only option would be where he or the doctors or somebody has a conversation where it's like, dude, your thumb's not right. We're not going to make the playoffs. Go get thumb surgery and go away and let Jordan Love play and start the rest of the games, and let's just see what we got with him. Under the circumstances, I think that's probably the best case scenario, because then it's an evaluation point for Love, which is he's going to be horrible. And then you'll know that you need to just get rid of him. I think you need to have a complete and total evaluation of Love to make it clear that he sucks, so that when you have this, what might turn into a top 10 to top 5 pick, you can then take a quarterback and not feel like, oh, I don't know if we should do this. Like I think you're far enough removed from when Love was picked that if you start him now and he's horrible, then you don't bring him back.
Yeah.
And you draft a young quarterback. Rodgers plays one more year, has his swan song, whatever. I mean, you got a ton of. I mean, the fact is, going into next year, and I know there's some salary cap issues or whatever, they're still gonna have a ton of talent next year. So I don't think this is out of the question that the Packers couldn't be good next year, especially if Rodgers is back. But I'm also assuming this isn't just him on the downswing of his career, and he's just bad. And if that's the case, then there's a much larger, a much bigger question that needs to be answered. But no, they'll never bench him if he feels like he's healthy. You got to find a way to make him basically not healthy. Get his thumb fixed.
Yeah, I wonder at what point does he kind of make a decision of like that he doesn't want to be like at some point this is going to start, I don't want to say tarnishing his legacy, but like, I mean, this is a really bad look right now. Like at what point does he like, I don't think I want to be a part of this. Like, I mean, I think maybe the Packers are hoping, can he just fucking say that he wants to retire? Can we like just do like a buyout or something like that? Can we buy him out of the rest of his contract and like come some agreement or whatever and just move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the way this contract is structured, there's ways for that to happen to where financially they don't get hurt as bad. So, I think that's certainly a possibility. And he can be like, well, I want to come back and try and play for somebody else next year. I don't know who he thinks he's going to do that with, but it's hard because who are your last two Super Bowl champion quarterbacks? Stafford, Brady. What did they do? Left a team that they'd been with forever, went to a different team, won a Super Bowl the next year. He sees that and he thinks, oh, I could do that. I could go somewhere else. Now Wilson is an example of when it doesn't work out, but I don't know if that he's paying attention to that. So, yeah, I think I think every option I think right now is on the table, especially if you lose to Dallas and you're 3-7.
Yeah.
Then it's almost mathematically like done.
And you said how, there's enough talent to be good next year, but it's just not going to get good all of a sudden, right? Something has to change. Like we can't just all of a sudden, because the talent that we have is not like they're all young. Like they've been, there's guys that have been, I mean, I know they are younger, but it's not like all of a sudden, like, oh, they figured it out. It just took them a year. They'll be fine. Like something is going to have to change. First off, and I'm not saying this is part of the problem. It's not all the fault, but we need a fucking receiver for one. Like we have to get a fucking receiver. But I mean, there's at some point, someone on the coaching staff has to lose a job, correct? Somewhere along the line, someone has to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you go through a season like this one, and nobody pays a price.
Right. Where
you went into the season a clear Super Bowl favorite, and you are currently 3-6. I think they're going to end up in the 5-12 range, based on the remainder of their schedule and how they look right now. Could that change where they go on a little bit of a run? Yeah, it's probably going to be too late, but yes, I without question, I think changes have to be made somewhere to ensure a team with this much talent doesn't do this again. It's totally unacceptable. You've got talent everywhere. You've got and you made the argument about Barry, a few weeks ago, in terms of his ineffectiveness, and he certainly should be questioned. But how many times are we going to do this with defensive coordinators? The Packers go through defensive coordinators like crazy compared to other teams.
I think the problem is maybe Barry shouldn't have been fucking hired. He didn't have any. His record is not great.
No, he shouldn't have been.
Never been fucking good.
No, he was a bad hire.
That's the fucking problem. So I don't care. I get it. Like you don't want to constantly go through defensive coordinators. But if you're going to keep fucking hiring bad defensive coordinators, then keep fucking going through defensive coordinators. Well, just get new ones. I don't care.
Or maybe you shouldn't be hiring
the
defensive coordinators. Maybe Matt LaFleur isn't a good evaluator of defensive coordinators, and maybe you should stay in your fucking lane and let the GM hire the defensive coordinator or something like that, because he clearly doesn't. He's not any good at it.
Well, yeah,
And
I mean, it's all a good old boys club, anyways. It's friends,
I
hire
agree with
friends,
you.
you know.
You're
But
right, and I think that was the case where LaFleur and Barry are bros, and that's why he got hired. Geez, give me Mike Pettin any time of day, because that defense he had a few years ago, and that's the Kevin King, Tampa debacle in the NFC Championship game. That defense is a hell of a lot better than this defense is right now.
shit.
I take Mike Pettin any day over this guy. Don't make
Yeah,
a change like that unless you know you're going to make it better. It's not better.
yeah,
Joe Barry's
yep.
defense is not better than Mike Pettin's. It's really similar in terms of personnel. It's a lot of the same guys, but Pettin's defense is better. Period. It was better. So it's insane how much talent they have on the defensive side of the ball, and they can't consistently make plays, but they are on the field way too damn much. When you're scoring 9 points against Detroit, your defense is not playing the style of defense that they need to play to be successful. They are a play from ahead defense. They're not a 15-9 defense.
I really wish Jim Leonard would have taken that job. That'd be interesting to see what he would have been, And maybe maybe the Badgers don't hire him and he's like fucking out of here, and then maybe we can get him.
Right.
But
you can talk. I'm a Badger football fan, so Badgers better freaking hire him as their head coach. He's way too damn good. That team is totally different with him, so that's not going to happen. But I'm guessing
insane not to hire him. Yeah, I cannot even imagine the backlash if they did not hire him.
No, they fired Chris so they could provide Leonard with this opportunity, and the team is way better with him as coach. So there is good news in Wisconsin. But maybe there is a younger defensive coordinator out there that you could hire. But right now, man, yes, somebody should lose their job. I just don't know who.
I said that on Sunday, so I don't know if you know. Do you even know that I'm doing 8 straight days of podcasts?
I didn't. You're doing your regular unintentional.
No one fucking pays attention. Yeah, my unintentional. Tanya's gone. They're in Florida So, I said, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast every day of the week. It's struggle. It's hard. Some of them are like 10 minutes long. It's really tough. It's not a lot. I think I could have a lot to talk about depending on what it was. But so anyways, Sunday I did one after the Packer game, and I just said, I don't even know who to hold. Someone has to be held accountable, but I just don't know who the fuck it is. But like, you can't do this and then just sit in your hands and be like, all right, let's run it back against Dallas.
Yeah, it's insanity, right? You just let's do the same things and run the same offensive plays and have the same stupid freaking red zone plays. What is it? They're the worst team in the red zone in bad. NFL history. So by far, it's the worst team ever.
Because weeks ago I'm like, there is no creativity. It's like a fucking dive, like whatever. And I've said this for 25 years when we were watching games in the fucking dorms together, and Jim Eben will attest to this. I've always said, I'm like, fucking play action, roll the tight end out. It works every time. It has worked for all of football. You see it every weekend. It works. Yet we never fucking do it. And then, so we do these stupid shit plays like we were doing weeks ago, just dives, and it's like, what are we doing? And then we decide to fucking get creative and throw the ball to David Bakhtiari, the fucking hurt lineman.
Right.
Why would you put more stress on his body and make him do something that he doesn't normally do?
Yeah. I mean, of all the play calls, that is got to be got to be number one in terms of stupidest. Was that a fourth down too?
I think so. Yeah. I think that was a fourth down play. Yeah.
So that's your fourth down play.
Well, actually, I don't know if it was. But I don't know. The throw was god awful. Either way, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
God awful throw. You're throwing it to a guy who can barely stay on the field because he's so hurt. What are you trying to do? Are you running that play because Rodgers and Bakhtiari are bros?
Right? Is that bad that we think? I thought the same thing. That's awful to think that even that crosses our mind.
I would say that there's a really good chance. I would say that there is a chance that there was a conversation that happened on the sideline and being like, hey, it'd be really cool if we got David a touchdown right now.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe he might be done after this. Yeah, he might be done after this year or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah. If that's the case, fire them all.
Yep.
Fire everybody. Because that is absolutely pathetic. You're a team that struggles in the red zone. You needed to win that game. 4-5 is way different than 3-6. It
Yep.
was an opportunity to kind of get on the upswing and maybe come back and win this game against Dallas. And that's the play that you run. And if you ran it because he's Aaron's bro, like this thing has gone way too far. Like, who's the coach, who's the player,
Right.
who's running this show, what is going on? It's really kind of disturbing if that is part of this.
Yeah. I think the worst thing about the whole game, one of the worst things is, and we bitch, we talk in our group chat all the time about how, timeouts and then just delay of games and all that stuff. How the fuck do we take a timeout and then immediately almost have a delay of game?
Yeah, it happens constantly.
What the hell did they do in the huddle? Like, what did they hell on the sideline?
I don't know. And I feel like what traditionally has happened for Rodgers is they run out on the field and then they get set up, and then he looks at the defense kind of come out of their huddle and set up the whole time. I think defenses have caught on to that, and they're waiting, and they're not coming out of their huddle, or they're not getting themselves aligned right away, and then he's waiting for them to get aligned.
Yeah.
And then the clock starts running down, but that's also then you have to adjust if they're doing that, and they're not.
Quarterback, yeah, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Come on, bullshit.
Right, and so you're constantly coming out of timeouts and almost getting delay of game penalties. It's really dysfunctional on so many levels. Timeouts, clock management, personal foul penalties, offensive play calling, especially in the red zone. The defense going from being really good to all of a sudden not being able to stop anything. Like it's like one drive they look like the 85 Bears, and the next drive it's like 3 plays, 80 yards, touchdown.
Yeah.
And it's like almost all on the ground. They can't stop the run at all. And it's again, I think they're more built to be a play from ahead defense, but man, they're just so many things going wrong. I still will stick to this though. I'd rather go through this. And you can argue back with me on this. I would go through this. I'd rather go through this knowing that they're going to get a top 5 to 10 pick than go through last season and go 13-4 and lose to freaking the 49ers in the divisional round. I will.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. It's the fucking losing in the playoffs is just fuck that. I'm not gonna disagree with that.
What about the season they just lost to Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship game? Would you take?
It's all of it. I mean, hindsight's 20/20. Like, what's going to happen, but I don't know. I don't know. I guess the one thing is with those games, you have one game of frustration where we are getting game after game after game after game of like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and the frustration is wearing down on me. Like, were you like super mad about that Detroit game? Like, were you super pissed?
Well, no, it's all about expectations. All of our frustrations is based on expectations. And my expectation was that they could easily lose that game. Yeah. And that's what happened. So
probably the most angry I've been all season is the Giants game that they lost.
Yeah, that was, yes, for sure. Yeah.
And by far the most angry. And then I started to, as you start to watch, and then the Jets game came and it's like, holy cow, the Packers are bad.
Yeah.
And I think once you start to accept that over the course of a couple games, but the Packers have constantly been drafting in that low to mid 20s for so long, and there's talent there, which they miss constantly.
Yep.
Like, and I'm not saying a top 5 to top 10 pick is a can't miss, because lots of teams miss there, but it would be interesting to try to be in that top range in every round and see what kind of a difference that can make for this franchise, given the amount of talent that they already have. Rashawn Gary, a lot of all that, so much defensive talent, and then trying to use that top end of the draft maybe to rebuild some of the offensive talent, because this offensive line is just absolutely pathetic. So they've got to figure out a way to rebuild that as well. Bakhtiari's done. His career is over. So
yeah, agreed. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's just all, like I said, it's all about expectations. At this point, because they've lost so much, I don't even expect them to win. If they don't win another game, I'm not going to be surprised.
Yeah. Now, and it's like, okay, would you what's more exciting, watching them lose a playoff game or watching them draft, number 3 overall? Depends on your perspective. A number
Right.
3 overall pick, I've only seen a few times in my lifetime. And it'd be nice in the spot that they're in right now, where they still have Rodgers, and hopefully he's back for another season, and he's playing well if he does that, and make one more run at it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to even think that for how bad Rodgers is playing that all of a sudden he can just snap out of it, and it fell off a cliff, which is crazy.
Yeah, he's had some years that have seemed like that though. I want to say, what was the year they went like? It was one of the like a COVID year where they went. I think the year McCarthy got fired, they didn't finish above 500. I want to say they were like 6-10.
Okay. Oh yeah,
and
maybe, yeah.
and Rodgers played bad that year, and then he came in under LaFleur and won 2 straight MVPs. He's still a good player. I don't think there's any question about that. But there's just too much dysfunction going on around him, and I think it's starting to take its toll on him. And I don't think he's healthy. I think his hand is messed up, and
Sure.
and he needs to just stop.
All right, DraftKings.
Yeah, I would say tomorrow night we have Atlanta, Carolina. I'm gonna stay tight ends. I've done a lot of tight ends on the Thursday night games, and I'm gonna go Kyle Pitts here. Going into the Sunday slate, I hate to do this because I usually don't do chalky guys, but I love Mahomes against the Jags on Sunday. I think he is going to absolutely tear it up. I could see a 5 or 6 touchdown game from Mahomes. Running back Kenneth Walker from Seattle. I think he's going to have a solid game. And then a little bit of a sleeper wide receiver for the Rams, Van Jefferson. I think he's finally back and healthy. He's going to be super cheap. And there's going to be a lot of points scored against the Cardinals. So Van Jefferson and wide receiver.
All right. To no one's surprise, I talked about how good my picks were doing, and we decided I would live make my picks, and of course both of them fucking missed.
Yes. I knew it.
Fucking stupid. It's just fucking dumb.
Yeah. Yep. Always.
Oh God. All right.
Always.
So I don't even know if I'm going to bet these. We'll see. I already have this one in.
So okay. I was going to say bet one and don't do the other one.
Yeah. So I have one in because this one was popping right away off the optimizer. Mariota over 155.5 passing yards tomorrow night. Doesn't that seem low? 155?
Yeah. Crazy low.
Let me just double check that number. I'm almost.
It doesn't even seem like an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Like starting NFL quarterback number.
I know. 155.5.
155. Easy.
Yeah. Yep. And then I was going to do Walker over. I know you had Walker as one of your plays. I was going to do Walker over 75.5 rushing yards. So if people want to pivot to that, they can. But I'm going to do Kenny Pickett over 207.5 passing yards.
Yeah.
Against the Saints.
Against the Saints. Yeah. So here's the only thing to think about. This hurricane stuff that's coming through, that's not going to be impacting that game tomorrow night, is it? At Carolina? Is that maybe a reason why that Mariota number is low?
I don't think so. I thought it was coming through like Orlando, wasn't it?
Yeah, its path is like coming in on the eastern shore of Florida and like kind of like a bowling back through kind of the east coast of Georgia and then into the Carolinas.
Yeah.
I don't think it's supposed to be there by tomorrow night though.
No, yeah. So tomorrow at 1:00, it looks like it's hitting like the Tampa area.
Okay, so it's still So yeah, that is a strange low number for passing yardage.
Yeah,
it's not like Atlanta has a great running game. And they're gonna score points.
They run. The thing is,
Panthers.
they do run a lot, but it's 155 yards is not a lot.
No, it's crazy.
So
he could get that in 3-4 plays. That's nuts.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing a podcast every day, so this counts as day 5. Tomorrow is day 6. Tomorrow I am previewing the FVA Basketball Association conference.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to take a listen to that.
Yeah, it'll be a good one because everyone's on this Nina trip. That Nina's this great team, and I'm like, fuck off. They're not. So we're gonna discuss that stuff.
I'd be interested to see your take on that because of the amount of talent that has left the FVA and what that's going to mean for kind of ultimately the way the conference falls. I'm guessing it could go a lot of different ways.
Oh, it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be awesome. Complete shit show though, but yeah. So.
All right.
Well, hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'll get there.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Later.
All right. See you.